Age Wonder coming at you from my van down by the river. All right, so apologize for being kind of out of pocket for a few days, but I'm making this video to explain to you what I've been doing and where I have been. So this video is about cleaning your karma or resetting your karma. Now, I was in church on Sunday, and the pastor's message talked about a little bit about sowing and reaping, and I just mentioned it, and I happened to call it karma, and the associate pastor there kind of jumped in and said, "I don't believe in karma." And I said, well, karma is sowing and reaping, so if you don't believe in sowing and reaping, you're probably going to die poor and alone. I'm pretty hard on young preachers. Yeah, I kind of slapped him in his nose, bam. But the bottom line is that sowing and reaping is what Christians call it. Buddhists call it karma. But ultimately, I believe it is the strongest and most provable power in the universe. And I believe it is at the core of what we call God. That God is justice, and sowing and reaping is justice. How just would God be if people were going around treating other people badly and there was no retribution? Or people were going around doing good deeds and there was no reward? So God is a just God. And the law of sowing and reaping, I think, is one of the strongest proofs and characters of God. It's one of the things that I hung on to no matter how my faith or interest or theology might have drifted from one direction to the other. The center post and the core of my belief has always been the belief of sowing and reaping, what the Buddhists call karma. Now, as a Christian, you may find it hard to buy into the rest of karma teaching, which has to do with karma being universal and progressing beyond this life into the next life, and it's tied into reincarnation. But at the core of karma, the basics, the essentials of karma, is exactly what is taught in the Bible and called sowing and reaping. In a previous video, and forgive me while I retell this story if you've seen it, in a previous video I talk about leaving a meeting with a music business official who was much higher up the food chain than I was. And he got into a junky old Toyota, and I got into a nearly brand new Lincoln with the rag top and the gold trim and the wire rims, and yeah, the kids would have called it pimping. And he asked me, he goes, "Sage, how are you that you're driving that brand new car, and it seems to me like you don't hardly work, or you don't have a job, or you don't do anything, and I'm driving this piece of junk, and I work 60, 80 hours a week. How is that?" And I didn't know what to tell him, but I just told him, what popped into my head, what came in from my heart. I listen to the voice of God. I do what God says. When He calls, I answer. And this is why people call me lucky or blessed. And you may not know this because I'm shooting from a van down by the river. But once upon a time, I had enough money to lose $1 million and still have some left over. And now that the economy has flipped around, thank you, Donald Trump. You did what you promised, and I'm personally feeling it. I don't know about you, but have you checked your 401k lately? But now that the economy's flipped around and there's more opportunity, yeah, I'm doing quite well. I'm doing probably better than ever right now. It's awesome. And not much of it has to do with this YouTube channel. A little bump, and I could have made a lot more off of this if I wanted to Patreon beg, or if I wanted to hawk some essential oils or some kind of digestive stuff, or some tea or something to you. If you're a YouTube fan, you know what I'm talking about. But I always say God takes care of me. So why does God take care of me? God takes care of me because I always try to do the right thing, and I invest in karma. I am a sower of seeds. I go about sowing seeds at every given opportunity. And sometimes, like in the last few days, I just feel it's necessary to stop everything I'm doing and just sow seeds and just be a planter. And so to give you an idea, everyone knows that I went out, and if you're a fan of this channel, that I recently went out and had a great trip at the coast, on the beach, with a patio overlooking the beach, right there on the surf with a hot tub on the patio and a fireplace in the room. Well, that was kind of for me, but really, I was sowing seeds into my relationship. I made that trip and spent that money and did those things for the woman in my life so that she could be rested, so that she could be, and I catered to her with wine and romance and all the things that go along with that, the things that most women love. When I got back, I spun the plate of YouTube on Saturday and made a couple videos for you folks. And then Sunday is always all about giving back for me now. And, I have a talent that if I wanted to go back to the rigors of the road, I could make a very solid living and get tons of recognition and a whole lot of praise if I wanted to go down that road. But instead, I've chosen to give what I've got left musically to my local church. And so Sunday is 3.5 to 4 hours of sitting behind the piano. My light went out. Why did my light go out? That is very odd. Oh well, so things got a little darker here. My light must have quit on me. But at any rate, Sunday is about giving back. 3.5, 4 hours, I don't leave the piano stool. There's practice. I play during the pre-service. I play for praise and worship. And then I do an odd thing that I'm going to do a video about where I play behind the pastor while he preaches. I just lay in a backing track of music the entire time he preaches that follows the emotion and the power and also the contemplative moments of his sermon. When I got back on Sunday, I got another opportunity to seed good karma. One of my friends, you might know the story of Evie, my Antifa friend, and I have mentioned that I knew Evie because she dated one of my personal close friends who was a lesbian. And this lesbian friend of mine, we're going to call her Ralph because she reminds me of Ralph Macchio. She's very masculine young lady, and she wouldn't mind saying that. She's one of these people that really identifies more as a boy in a lot of ways. But she was a very close friend of mine, and some months ago she moved away to Seattle with a girlfriend, and she showed up on my doorstep, 96 pounds soaking wet. Her life went right down the tubes all of a sudden. It was not doing that well to begin with, and so I spent a good portion of yesterday sitting down with her and explaining to her that she was karmically incurring a debt because she's the kind of person that expects everyone around her to bail her out, to help her, to give her a hand up all the time until she stopped really looking at how she could better her situation and how this really is about her. Getting it done, doing, adulting and doing the things that adults have to do. And I explained to her how she was probably 30 days away from death because she had expended all of her karmic credit with everyone she knew by taking and not giving back as much as she should or could. And so karma works both ways. When you seed good things in, you do things to help people. Yesterday was crazy busy for me. It was 14 hours of running, and I ran for everyone else. I started my morning yesterday, and I don't usually like to brag about doing good deeds, but this is about teaching, because, one of the things that I know is that this isn't being taught enough in Sunday school, and not enough people are going to Sunday school anymore, and it isn't being taught in our culture. And I'm probably going to do a series of videos of things that aren't being taught in our culture anymore, and this is part of why our culture is falling apart. So on Monday morning, I started my day at 9 a.m. by meeting our pastor and another man from the church, where we collected baked goods that were donated to the church, a pickup bed full of them. And we went around and distributed this free food to various sources, various places. One of which, my favorite stop was at a place called an Oxford House here in Oregon, which is a halfway house for people that are coming out of drug treatment and trying to get established in life. And they all have very limited funds, and things like apple fritters and donuts and stuff like that just aren't really possible for them. And so yeah, they love it when we bring that stuff to them. And another thing that I did that a lot of people forget about is that we went around to some businesses where we knew that there were you know immigrant people who were working at minimum wage, and who barely get by and usually are trying to support a family on a minimum wage job. And we gave them some stuff too. We just handed it out. We went to a alternative school where kids go that have been in trouble, and they're trying to turn their lives around. Teenagers. Sorry, it chokes me up. I got a heart for teenagers. It's part of being a youth pastor, My idea was fix them before they get all the way broke. Catch them before they fall off the edge of the earth, build into the next generation. But we went there and we brought cookies and cakes and rolls and all kinds of stuff for the staff of that place, who are always underpaid and overworked, and also for the students there, just to put a little brightness in their day. But and then in the evening, I helped my son-in-law and my daughter buy a car. They were buying their first car and they needed some help, and I went out and helped them buy a good used car. So for 3 days, it's just been about giving for me. And I encourage that because I see it come back over and over again. If you don't believe in sowing and reaping, like I told the youth pastor, you're going to die broken alone. That sowing the seeds of goodness in your community, amongst your family, in your relationships, is so uber important. It is ridiculously important, and it is something that people don't really understand anymore. And let me tell you another thing about sowing and reaping. If you sow a seed into a person's life, like this friend of mine, I don't expect to reap the fruit from her. I don't expect these people from the Oxford house to come look me up someday and give me money. That is not how it works. It's a mysterious, universal force of God. And when you give to someone in need, then blessings come from someplace else, like YouTube, or like from investments that I made. I took my last $10,000 and I invested it in a business, and it's paying off. It's paying the bills. I can afford to go to the beach. I can afford to buy a new gun. I can afford to have some fun a little bit because I was able to make sowing into a business. I reap the benefits. Sometimes karma is direct that way. You sow into something, you directly get fruit back from it. But most of the time, it's more mysterious. God works in mysterious ways. You sow a seed over here, and something over there pays you back. Some other unrelated thing. And it is at work. And people don't realize the force of sowing and reaping. It is everything. So many preachers have hijacked the idea of sowing and reaping to say, if you sow into the church and you give money to the church, God's going to bless everything you do. Well, it depends on what that church does with that money. I personally try to sow seeds in many areas. In the church, I do. I sow seeds with time and money into the church. But I sow seeds with my time and energy, and also financially, but more with time and energy, into the community, into the people around me, into my kids, into their friends. I sow these seeds of wisdom on the internet. I try to share with you nuggets of God and pieces of wisdom. And I give more time to other people than I take for myself. And so you cannot outgive God. You cannot outgive karma. You can't do more good deeds than you can spend. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to come in faster. The more you spend, the more it comes in. I'm not teaching prosperity ministry here. I'm teaching the key to harmony, peace, love, joy, all those fruits of the Spirit. They come from seeding and sowing and reaping. They come from karma. It's just two names for the same thing. So I encourage you to seed into your community. Give to a homeless shelter. Give of your time. Go down to a soup kitchen. Seriously, go down and minister to homeless people. Do it. Don't go by and see a person on the street begging and just automatically say, hey, this person is a scammer. They might be. And let me tell you this thing about karma. If you, with your good heart, sees a person in need and you give to them and they're a scammer, it brings bad karma on that person. And you still get the good karmic return. You still get the seed sown will still produce fruit from some other location, from some other direction, because God sees your heart and your intention. Don't go around sowing and expecting a return. I just give indiscriminately, and God gives back to me indiscriminately. It's a powerful force. It is not being taught. If you are hearing this for the first time, I just gave you a key to success in life. To me, cleaning your karma. If you go through a period of time where you have to take help. You have to ask people for help. If you go through a period like that and you don't follow it up when you get back on your feet with a return, not necessarily to the people that helped you, but back into the universe. This is a universal power. This is a universal thing. This is a God thing. Don't neglect your karma. Don't neglect the act of seeding into the people around you, into your community, into your relationships. It will come back to you from every direction. You can't outgive God. All right. Peace to you, my brothers and sisters.